In part 2 of the update 9.2 refines, we're going to talk about Harmonic Tiki and Ninian. We then have remixes for Mythic Ashe and Legendary Xander. We'll go over everyone's new skills and cover some build ideas. Harmonic Tiki is a blue flying dragon. She's a high attack and speed focused dragon, but has one of the lowest base res stats among the class. This may limit Tiki if you want to run those dragon specific skills that utilize resistance. Now, as a Harmonic unit, Tiki's Harmonize skill grants Resonance Blades to herself and allies from Mart's Games or Blazing Blade. Thanks to Ninian, this skill also refreshes any ally within 2 spaces. If Tiki can follow up or just get close enough, you can get another action for a friend. For her actual refine, Frostfire Breath also relies on friends a little. It got some nice buffs. This 60-might weapon grants +3 attack and is effective against dragons. Hopefully the newest tank doesn't neutralize that would be a shame. Now, if a bonus is active on unit, grant +6 attack and speed and +5 defense and res. Tiki gets bonus attack and speed equal to the highest total defense and res field boost among herself or allies within 3 spaces, times 2. In addition, Tiki gets 7 flat damage reduction against first attacks with an S, she has full no follow-up, and heals 7 HP after combat. A lot of new tools for Tiki, no follow-up and flat DR are excellent for a speedy unit, and Tiki's main gimmick got buffed. Previously, Tiki would only use field buffs on herself, and you would multiply the total defense and res buffs by 1.5. Now, Tiki can borrow buffs from allies, and she multiplies the total by 2. We'll come back to this effect after the refine. Speaking of, Tiki will get Kanto 2. Each turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Tiki grants +6 defense and res, bonus doubler, and no panic to her team. If initiating or near an ally, she gets +5 stats and 50% DR piercing on all hits. This Tiki actually has her Legendary Alt's C skill. Well, you can throw that in the trash because the refine includes its defense and res field buffing effect, now at 2 space range, bonus doubler, and no panic. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, bonus doubler only grants an in-combat buff. It does not make Tiki's +6 field buff into +12. The only way to improve the actual field buff is through Xander's +3 add-on. Now let's just talk about Tiki by herself. She gives the team +6 defense and res. This is 12 total buffs, so the base effect does 12 times 2 to get +24 attack and speed. Now that's a stat boost. If you had Xander, Tiki would have had +9 field buffs. 18 times 2 is 36 attack and speed. Maybe worth making some friends with the golden buff guy. Now, even if Tiki's buffs get neutralized in combat, she can borrow from allies. To protect their field buffs, Tiki then has no panic. Do keep in mind, if Tiki loses her field buffs, the bonus doubler status doesn't do anything. Only the tier 4 versions have a similar borrow from allies mechanic. Outside of Kanto, no follow-up, 50% DR piercing and some flat DR, this is an extremely stat-focused refine. Tiki gets a base +10 or 11 to all stats. If you keep those +6 defense field buffs, she gets another 24 attack and speed. In terms of playstyle, this Tiki mostly is just a high-speed initiator. If you're on momentum, she can possibly charge Glimmer or Moonbow immediately. You will need to have 3 movement though, so something like Endless Tempest, Rain Snap, or Silica would be nice to have. It's for flyers only, but Air Orders 4 would be excellent on this Tiki. She would now supply full +6 buffs to all stats with bonus doubler, and then flyers get charged with regular warping. That would be fun for a flyer emblem team. When it comes to dragon specific skills, Tiki is starting behind most users when it comes to base res. Dragon's Roar, Dragon Wall, or Scour all need res checks. Tiki's not getting 24 bonus res, although she does buff up with bonus doubler. The unpierceable % DR from Dragon's Roar would be nice, but fair warning if you can't outres the enemy. One interesting option is Dragon's Scales to get 75% DR piercing, some cooldown, decent debuffs, and then it does a defense and res comparison. Since Frostfire Breath gives so much extra attack and speed, you could run Tiki with full defense and res boosters. Fortifications would be fun to get distant counter, and then Barricade would offer some Warp Bubble with defense and res advantages. Counter Roar is a % DR option instead of Dragon Wall if you don't want to worry about res. Going back to regular flyer skills, Tiki can opt for Flared Sprout to hide behind the flame tiles with Kanto. With no follow-up, she can definitely outspeed to use Dive Bomb or Desperation. Deadly Miasma is similar to Endless Tempest, but you can lay down the Haste Terrain. Since we booted Tiki's unique passive, you can also run an attuned skill. Mercy Wing Echo would be great to let Ninian dance an ally with that Harmonize skill. Good old Soaring Echo also works for mobility. Same goes for all the other flyer skills. Overall, Harmonic Tiki can rack up some serious stat advantages, but her skill options are a little limited due to being a dragon with lower res. She can't use No Quarter or the new Haze Slice, and you got no Gale Force potential either. Tiki also has no cooldown perks, so stuff like Momentum can be nice, even if you have to resort to using the old classic specials. Survivability is a concern, but if you feel Tiki has enough attack and speed, perhaps more defense and res stat boosters could be appropriate. Next up we have Mythic Ashe, who is our Book 6 freebie. Ashe is a colorless beast infantry with decent bulk. She's going to be getting a lot of stats with this upgrade. I want to start with her remixed Open Retainer plus C skill. Like before, Ashe provides 2-space warping to allies within 2 spaces. For allies within 3 spaces, instead of just +4 attack, Ashe now provides +5 to all stats, the low effect, and allies get 7 HP healing on hit. This is a joint drive type ability, so Ashe receives all the same effects if near an ally. In addition, she gets 50% DR piercing on all attacks. Open Retainer Plus is an excellent upgrade, more stats, neutralize enemy field buffs, and on-hit healing support. That last one is not a common effect. All of those twin save armors can now heal 14 HP per hit, oh boy. Now moving on to the Horn of Opening Refine, this is a 60 might slaying weapon. If within 3 spaces of an ally, Ashe gets +6 attack and +5 speed, she inflicts -6 attack on the foe. Ashe then has Omnibreaker for a free follow-up and prevents 1 follow-up attack. Last, she will get flat DR based on defense. The amount is equal to the number of allies within 3 spaces times 10%. If Ashe has 3 allies in range, she gets 30% defense as flat damage reduction. If the foe triggers a special, she doubles that amount. 60% defense as flat DR, good lord. Horn of Opening got some adjustments. Before, Ashe needed 3 allies in range for the Omnibreaker part. That is now being used for the flat damage reduction. Ashe still wants 3 nearby allies for the max amount. For the Refine, if the foe initiates or has more than 75% HP, Ashe gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of allies within 3 spaces times 2. Have 3 allies in range for +11 to all stats and max. In addition, Ashe gets 20% defense as true damage, and she will get -1 instant cooldown before her first attack. Not a huge surprise, Ashe gets Asker's true damage and flat DR based on defense. She also kinda gets his times pulse effect with that -1 instant cooldown. Along with her C-skill, Ashe just got a huge amount of extra stats to play with. If you have 3 allies nearby, Ashe gets 16 defensive res and over 20 plus attack and speed. This is excellent for her new true damage and flat DR effects. She has Omnibreaker to help double slower tanks with follow-up prevention or to stop faster foes who don't bring no follow-up. Keep in mind, when transformed, Ashe also gets 7 true damage on special trigger and then full tempo. As part of her remix, Ashe gets attack and defense spiked wall as an upgrade over her tier 3 Bolverk skill. This can grant another 15% defense as true damage, 7 flat DR, and then no guard. If Ashe is transformed, the no guard part is redundant. This skill will go nicely though with Ashe's Unity skill. She negates enemy field buffs while turning attack and defense debuffs back around. To go with all of Ashe's flat DR, Sturdy Beast is excellent. With Slaying, it's going to be on 2 cooldown. Ashe gets 1 cooldown due to no guard when she's hit. With the Refine's -1 instant cooldown, she can charge 30 beasts for the counterattack, which gets 50% piercing. If a foe has a special, they will trigger the 40% DR effect. If not transformed, Ashe needs to win a defense check. That's not going to be too bad though because of all these extra stats. For even more mitigation, Horn of Opening doubles its flat DR amount against specials. 40% damage reduction with 60% defense as flat DR after is crazy. Now, Ashe has a lot of other options. If you want to be like Hathrun, you can run Lucu's Friend with Aegis or Pavis. You can't use 30 beasts because of the slaying. If you did want more damage, you could run Ignis. Ashe could use her -1 instant cooldown effect to offset scale, which is nice. Speaking of which, you can also use that -1 cooldown to pre-charge Fierce Beast. Full DR piercing is fun, and Ashe can initiate with it. There is some potential for some player phase threat by running Excel for another flat DR source. If she doubles and she's transformed, she's going to have tempo to recharge. Perhaps there's some possibility for something like Gale Force here. For other fun stuff, Bastiel's Assault can bump Ashe's DR piercing to 75% per hit. It also adds 20% defense as true damage. It's a little silly, but the console part would be very funny to have. I mean, she does have the Guidance 2-space warping, so there is some potential to be made with that kind of mobility. For A skills, Unity is fine, but you can do Earthfire boost for guard to go at tempo, Fortifications for possible distant encounter. You can do distant bonus doubler, and then there's the Beast Fortune or Wild A skills. Wild provides breath type cooldown with healing. There is only attack and speed wild currently. Fortune provides an easier transformation condition while also having healing. There is only attack and res and attack and speed variants though. To be fair, Infantry Beast can get away without transforming. Tempo is nice though, and some skills like Sturdy Beast get a guaranteed trigger when you're transformed. We always have that Beast Sacred Seal if needed. If you're not using Ashe for pure combat, you can run buffing skills like Link or Rally plus Ruse. More stats to stack with her new Remix C skill. In conclusion, Ashe honestly did quite well for herself. Nothing extremely fancy, but she has a 3-space range to work with while offering her 2-space warping ability. The on-hit healing as a support effect is extremely rare. Sturdy Beast is incredibly fitting for Ashe's combat. No surprise since Lord Asker introduced that skill. At the moment, the unpierceable percent DR plus fat DR setup is just very tough to beat. Our last unit for this month is Legendary Xander, who definitely gets the most improved award for the batch. This Xander is an Axe Cavalier with good attack and speed and higher defense than Res Focus. He wasn't the most impressive on release, but with the new upgrades, Xander can play similarly to another blonde-haired prince who just got another Cavriol. Let's start with the refine for Ebon Bolverk. 60 Might Sling Axe. Each turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Xander grants plus 6 attack and speed, no follow-up, and the bread type cooldown status to himself and those allies. If Xander is near 2 or more allies, he also gets plus 1 movement. For combat, if initiating or near an ally, Xander gets plus 5 stats and heals some HP after combat. He then gets true damage equal to X times 5, with X being the number of positive status effects active on Xander and the enemy. If there are 5 positive statuses in the fight, Xander can get up to 25 true damage. Ebon Bolverk used to be a self-buffing weapon, but Xander now shares his buffs with all allies. He previously needed 2 allies within 2 spaces each turn, but this condition now grants plus 1 movement if you do the same. 4 move counts means Xander's going in. The other new effect is the true damage part. This is not the same as the Valentine's Banner effect. Xander only counts positive statuses on himself or the foe. This effect was on the Hoshiden Festival Leo and Takumi weapons, so I assume that's where Xander got it. Now for the refine, if above 25% HP, Xander gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns times 2. If there are 3 allies in range, he gets up to plus 11 to all stats. In addition, Xander neutralizes attack and speed debuffs, he gets 7 flat DR for first attacks, and he will have 50% DR piercing. Very good stuff, although Xander will lose bonus stats as you take out more enemies. Altogether, Ebon Bolverk got great upgrades, but we aren't done yet. For his remix, Xander gets Chivalry 2. I always wanted to play that game. This beast skill grants Near Trace 4 type Kanto. Xander gets 50% damage reduction for all attacks, including AoE specials. He inflicts minus 5 attack, speed, and defense on the foe. Xander gets true damage and flat DR equal to X% of his attack stat. If the foe has more than 50% HP, this is 25% attack scaling, otherwise it's 15%. Finally, Xander gets instant cooldown before his first attack equal to Y. This is based on the amount of spaces moved by the initiator with a max of -3 cooldown for 3 spaces. If the foe has more than 75% HP though, this is automatically -2 instant cooldown. Alrighty, Chivalry 2 used to give % DR based on the foe's HP. This is now a set 50% amount, but the HP additions is still tied to other effects. For one, Xander gets true damage and flat DR scaling off attack. The other effect is tied to the instant cooldown. You may remember Harmonic Veronica and Xander also had -3 instant cooldown potentially. He doesn't have full DR piercing specials, but like his legendary sister, he gets 50% piercing. Xander has taken all the effects of his friends and family. I'm not sure about Elise, but the devs giving Xander colorless feud is still one of the funniest messed up things they've done. Now, going back to the overall kit, if you want to count, there are like 7, 8, 9 or so different conditions. To put it simply, Xander wants to start the turn near 2 allies. He wants to initiate against foes with higher than 75% HP for -3 instant cooldown and 25% attack, true damage, and flat DR. If possible, get him 5 positive statuses, and Xander gets 25 true damage. This is an insane buff for Xander. If you'd like to update Xander's kit, he gets attack and speed excel with the remix. That makes our job very easy. With 25% attack scaling true damage, 25 true damage via statuses, instant cooldown with bread type cooldown, 4 movement, and 50% DR piercing on a fast melee cav, that sure sounds a whole lot like Valentine's Dimitri. I mean, it's incredibly similar if you ignore the whole extra entire action. Like Dimitri, Xander is set up to run the new Haze Slice. You even have room to take Shadow Shift. With Slaying, the -3 cooldown from Chivalry and the -1 cooldown from the special, Xander not only pre-charges Haze Slice, he can counter 2 layers of Scowl. With bread type cooldown, he can recharge the Slaying Haze Slice and he procs it again on the follow-up. This special grants 40% DR for all hits when initiating. Xander combos this with Excel, 25% attack flat DR from Chivalry, and then 7 flat DR from the Refine. Good lord. For more, he has 50% piercing on both hits, no follow-up to double when outspeeding, and then you literally have the same true damage as Atrocity. If Xander or the foe have enough positive statuses, you then add another 25 true damage on top, which is crazy. With his weapon, Xander gets 3 statuses. You can run Insight for another, but there is no Insight defensive res just yet. Still, most enemies will have statuses of their own of some kind. You could keep colorless feud if you're a monster, or maybe there's some dangerous new colorless threats. For other skills, Xander can proc Ignis or Dragon Fang, but unlike Harmonic Veronica, he doesn't have the full DR piercing special. You could run No Quarter instead of Haze Slice for that, but not having Haze Slice means no % DR in this kit. You could run Escuchain or Pavis, but I mean, Haze Slice actually adds damage. Something to keep in mind though is that with Haze Slice, this is a very player phase setup. Xander could enemy phase, but he wants to use that forward movement to attack first. If you want to make the damage hurt, Fatal Smoke is always good. For more buffing, Odd Defense Wave 4 would give Xander's team extra defense buffing, and then Tempo if he has higher defense than the foe. That's good with his bread type cooldown. Maybe you want to go for a higher cooldown Gale Force or Aether. As fun as Haze Slice is, there is a use case for higher cooldown specials to not purposely trigger Excel type DR that gets doubled when against specials. Ashe has this, for example, and so do many others. Xander still has 3 flat DR sources. If you can get away without the percent DR, then you might end up dealing more damage without a special proc, unironically. Generally speaking though, this is a top tier remix and refined for a legendary that didn't make too much of a splash initially. He has a lot of similar abilities as one of the brand new house leader ults. To truly have a Valentine's Dimitri light, you can just give Xander Dimitri's fodder. That's all I have for part 2 of the FEH 9.2 refines. Xander is clearly the most improved for this month, but Ashe also got a lot of nice things. Notable, as she is our freebie. Also, don't sleep on Harmonic Tiki either, just a whole lot of attack and speed. If you have missed part 1, we went over refines for Young Innis, No, Aspel, and Anand. I'll have links posted if you'd like to see that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.